Sir, Namaskar. Regarding the previous session, I have a doubt. Can I ask now?
Yes, yes,
Sir, you had talked about dividing the data into training and testing sets.
yes.
How to decide how much of percentage of data we require for training? For example, in weather prediction and all, till the last 24 hours, it is very difficult to accurately predict outcomes.
Right, right. So normally it's like this. Normally 80-20 is a good thing, right? 80% of the data should be used for training and 20% of the data should be used for testing purpose. But from your side, you can decide whether it's 70 or 30% also will do, right? But don't keep very less amount of data for training purpose. Okay, that thing is there. And at the same time, proper proportion of testing data should also be there because of few of the things which may come in the training time. So when I'll be teaching you the predictive analysis, right? When I'll be creating one model, at that time I'll cover also the few terms which are related to those training and testing things, right? So that it should not be more biased to the training data, right, or the testing data. And what do you mean by over training or under training, right? So all this stuff which I'll be covering, so don't worry about that. But one rule you can keep, like either 75-25% or 80-20 is the best one. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one small clarification.
Yes, yes.
This has been there in my mind for a long time.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
What is the difference between data and data set?
So data is nothing but it's the same as the data set. Okay.
No,
Whatever your data, yeah,
no,
whatever
as
you,
I, no, as I understand, set means at least not more than one.
no, say, set means what? For example, see, which we keep on accumulating over the period of time, right? So that becomes a data set. Data set has the huge quantity of data. Okay.
No, no, I would just want to clarify.
Yeah.
See, data is one
So
quantity.
if you, yeah, yeah, if you just talk about only data, then data can be anything. Like one record can be a data, one piece of information can also be a data, right? So data set means what? Data set will have the collection of all the data, like different columns will be there of that particular data, different attributes of their that particular whatever problem you are taking into consideration. So that entire thing creates one entire data set.
And
Okay,
correct. Because in Aero we have that Aero data set. So
right.
what I understood roughly is that set is more than two quantities. Like say data is mainly aerodynamic variation, whereas
Right,
data
right.
set is aerodynamics plus the time.
Yes, yes. So in data set, you will be having a number of columns in that particular
Oh,
data. Okay.
okay.
For example, if I consider a diabetic patient, so the name of the person, then height of the person, then weight of the person, then no different columns will be there in that one. So that is the collection of that is a data set. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair. I got it. I got the point. Thanks so much.
Yes, yes. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we were there on this particular point. And I was telling that he proposed in that during that time he asked one question that can machine things, and this question was asked by Alan Turing in 1950, where he was presenting one paper. So we also want the same capability, right? What we want to build such intelligent machine which can behave like human, think like human, and perform tasks like human. And this is the ultimate goal of no any particular AI application. And if you see, normally different robots are made, and which are nowadays are they are achieving this kind of task, right? So many people believe that maybe after 2040 or 50, let's say these in another 30-40 years, these robots even may surpass our human beings. So let's see what will happen till then. Okay, so now we will be seeing a few applications, like if you might have observed about the Google Assistant, right? What is the job of this Google Assistant? I mean, we can simply talk to that Google Assistant in our phone, and we can say you search particular thing. We can say over there keyword, and it will going to search those things. So Google Assistant, one of the AI example is there. Then there is a Siri application. Okay, this is also like Alexa kind of devices are there. This is a Siri application. Then this is a Tesla automatic driving car. If you search on the Google, and there is a videos are also available of this one. So here this is automatic driving car, so there won't be any driver. If you see, the steering is there as it is, right? No driver is there. or how we can go, we can just go inside the car, we can just put the destination, the car will move automatically. If you see from the mirror of the car, from the mirror of the car, you can see different objects are being detected, like bicycler is there, right? Then one oncoming car is there, so it can mark and it can detect the objects, and according to that it can brake, it can apply the brake, or it can speed up the car, it can low down the speed, it can turn right, it can also see the signals, it can follow the signals. All these decisions can be made by itself. So this is also one of the AI application. You can see in some places it is already implemented also. We don't know when in India it will be possible, but yeah, it's there. Tesla automatic driving car.
One question, sir. I mean, it detects the speed of the oncoming car also.
So that thing can also be done, right? Well, that feature also can be done in this one. That depends how deeply this is desired. Obviously, this will be there because then only it can make the decision, like
Exactly.
whether
I mean, until
yeah,
unless we know by what
yes,
speed the object is coming towards me,
right.
how can the car will take a decision when to
Yeah,
stop
because see
and
what happens. Suppose this pedestrian she's crossing a road, right? So road. So the car will also be able to detect by what speed this particular person is crossing the road, because otherwise in that period of time, if the car will reach to that particular person, then what will happen? So from that particular person to this car, we can also calculate the distance, it will divide by the time, so it can calculate the speed obviously it will know, but by what time it will reach to that particular person. And by some way it will also be able to calculate the speed of this particular person, so that it can cross the road and then it can pass over there. So all these will
so
be definitely.
yeah. So apart from detecting the image, it has to detect the speed parameter, the length and size of the object, and the distance between the objects. So all
Yeah.
these parameters need to be assessed before taking any decision by the car.
Yes, 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 yes. And along with all this, even different objects like signals, their lights, and all the systems also, right? So many things, and suddenly also many things come in between the car. So that's why I told you that it should be trained on huge amount of data, right? If we will going to make and if we will going to train our this kind of model on very limited resources or limited data set, then definitely all those things are not possible, right? And these are the made in such a way that day by day they keep on learning also. So learning will also be inbuilt in that one, and daily by daily basis from themselves also they can learn it. So this is one example, a very nice example. So now we will see why AI, ML, and data science is the future. Okay, this is also one important thing. And if you see in big letter, one thing is written, that is the big data. So because of big data, we have seen over there the quintillion amount of data is being generated daily, right? So just because of this big data, huge amount of data, they have become the future now. So now let's talk about the data generation, and we'll see in 1 minute what happens in around the world. So for example, if you see, whenever you buy any product on Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra, data is being generated. Okay, that data is being recorded. So on a stock market, data is generated every microsecond. Okay, even in less amount of that particular time. So most of the devices are connected on the internet. So we will see now how many devices are approximately connected on the internet. So if devices are connected with the internet, and if they exchange the information with each other, then that kind of devices are called as IoT. That is Internet of Things. They become the Internet of Things. So just remember, if any two devices are connected to the internet and if they are communicating, they are exchanging the information, they are sharing the information, then they becomes the IoT. So current world population is 7.9 billion as of June 2021, according to the most recent United Nations estimates elaborated by Worldometer. So 7.9 billion, and 50 billion devices by the end of 2021 will be there. 50 billion. So you can just see approximately 7 to 8 devices are there per person. Per person, 7 to 8 devices are there, and it's connected to the internet. So you can just imagine one person is having 6 7 devices, and it's connected on the internet, and with all the devices, data is constantly being generated. Huge amount of devices are connected to the internet. So if you see what happens in 1 minute, So YouTube, if you take the YouTube, 300 hours of videos are uploaded on to YouTube every minute. 300 hours of videos. So almost 5 billion videos are watched on YouTube every single day. 5 billion. And what is interesting about this particular slide is I'm just talking about the numbers. Okay, numbers are very, very important for data scientists. They always see everything in terms of numbers. So if you are going in this particular field, we have that particular thing in our mind, that what is the number, what is that number. We always look for the number. So Twitter, every second on average around 6,000 tweets are tweeted on Twitter, which corresponds to over 350,000 tweets sent per minute, 500 million tweets per day, and around 200 billion tweets per year. WhatsApp users send close to 42 million messages every minute. 42 million messages every minute. On Amazon, on average, SMBs are located in the US, okay, where the servers are there. So US sells more than 4,000 items per minute. This is also the record of 2019. So Amazon sells 4,000 items per minute. Facebook currently has 2.701 billion monthly active users. Monthly active users means once in a month the user is active on that particular Facebook. So furthermore, the number of Facebook's daily active users currently stand at 1.785 billion people, meaning 66.09% of total monthly users log in on a mobile device or desktop or through the laptop, right, each day. Huge amount of this thing, the people. Google handles 3.8 million searches per minute on average across the globe. So you can see in 1 minute what different things can be achieved and what different things are going on, right? Huge amount of data is being generated everywhere. Now, one more thing we will going to study, that is what do you mean by exabytes. Exabyte means what? The way we have the megabyte, the way we have the gigabyte. For example, you buy any particular machine or laptop, let's say, or desktop. So the hard disk space is given to you, right? Obviously, this space is nowadays in terms of gigabytes, okay? And even in the terabytes also, you are getting this space. So we will learn what do you mean by 130 exabytes or the exabytes units of data. So since the dawn of the time of up till 2005, humans had created 130 exabytes of data. So from the start, since this thing is created Earth and till 2005, let's say 130 exabytes of data is created by the human being. So now let's try to understand. I purposely kept this particular slide for many people who are there in this particular background in computer and IT. They might be knowing, but many are there who are not aware of this one. So let's study this also. So for example, if you want to just simply store one character, let's say one letter, so you require 1 byte of space. What do you mean by 1 byte? 1 byte is nothing but 8 bits. Okay, 8 bits of information. So 8 bits makes 1 byte. So 1 byte of data we require to store such kind of letter, one single letter. Now let's say assume that we want to store one page, one entire page where entire thing is written in one page, and that data I want to store. So how much space we will require? That will require approximately 1 KB, maybe more than 1 KB. I am rounding it off to 1 KB. So what is 1 KB is what? 1 byte multiplied by 1000 will make you 1 KB. 1 byte multiplied by 1000 will make you 1 KB of data. Okay, so this is about one page. This is about one page. What happens if I want to store entire book? So if I want to store the entire book, which consists of number of pages in it, okay, we were having for one page approximately 1 KB. So if multiple pages are there, we will require 1 KB multiplied by 1000, let's say 1 MB of data. Obviously it will require 10 MB, whatever is there, but I'm just talking about in the round figure way. So in MB size of data, you can store the book. And what is MB? 1 KB multiplied by 1000. Okay. Now, suppose you want to store his entire human DNA information, how much space you will require? So it has been seen that approximately 746 megabyte of space you will require to store entire DNA information of one person. Entire DNA information of one person. So we are observing is what 1 megabyte, let's say. So it requires 746 approximately 746 MB. So I'm saying that 1 MB multiplied by 1000. So next unit is 1 GB. So I'm assuming that 1 GB of space is required to store one complete DNA information, complete genome information. So 1 GB of space. Okay. So now if we have a digicam, right, and we want to record each and everything throughout the life that we can record, and we will have how much space will require, we can have the 1 terabyte of space, and 1 terabyte is how much? 1 GB multiplied by 1000. That makes you 1 terabyte of 1 terabyte of space. So if you have the 1 terabyte of space, you can record each and every thing. So remember, 1 terabyte means what? 1 GB multiplied by 1000. Okay. Now, you might have heard about the Amazon rainforest. It's very huge, very huge. 1.4 billion acres of trees are there. 1.4 billion acres of trees are there, where every acre has 500 trees in it. Every acre has 500 trees in it. So total, let's say 700 billion trees are there. So if you want to store all the entire information of each and every tree, which are made into small pieces, okay, even the leaves and everything, and if you want to store the entire information, it will require 1 petabyte of information, 1 petabyte of space. And what will be the 1 petabyte? 1 petabyte will be 1 terabyte multiplied by 1000. So 1 terabyte multiplied by 1000 will become 1 petabyte of space. Now, if you want to store entire world, entire earth information, how much space you will require? So you will require 1 exabyte of space. 1 exabyte of space, if we have, we can store all the information, everything of the entire world. And that is what? That is 1000 petabytes. So if you multiply it by 1 petabyte by 1000, you will get 1 exabyte of space. So by 2005, it was there that 130 exabytes of data is being created. By 2010, 1200 exabytes. See the jump, the kind of jump it's happening to a 1200 exabytes of data. By 2015, 7900 exabytes of data. And by 2020, 4900, okay, 40,900 exabytes of data. Such huge amount of data being generated. We just now saw that 1 exabyte of space is enough to store entire earth information. Okay, so and if you see now how much information is being released, how much data is being created. If you see this particular graph, so this is the 50-fold growth from the beginning of 2010 to the end of 2020. What it's trying to show, this particular figure, is how much data is being generated and where data scientists are. Data scientists are, if you see this particular red line, data scientists are lying over here, and what amount of huge information is data being released. So you can clearly see there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap between the data scientists and the kind of information being generated. So say there is a huge, very large scope in this particular area, very large scope. And there will be huge demand. Okay, there will be huge demand in the future. Okay, I'll just talk about the evolution of memory, how it started. So initially we had punch card kind of thing where we used to store the information in terms of zeros and ones. Then floppy came. This kind of floppy were there. Let's say when I was there in the college, I used to carry this kind of floppy in my pocket, and it used to store only 1.4 MB of data. Right? We used to store hardly some code in that, few codes of KB, like C programming codes we used to store in that. We used to carry this particular floppy in our pocket, and many times we used to corrupt, floppy used to corrupt. Then the CD and DVD era came. Then the pen drive. Now see the sizes are getting reduced day by day. Okay, now this kind of device, and now we are having micro SD, which we insert inside the mobile phone. It's very tiny devices, and you can see how much information we can store in GBs. We have this space, and the size has got reduced to a lot. And second thing, the tolerability is also has increased a lot. For example, what happens, right? Sometimes we remove this kind of micro SD from our mobile and we keep in the pocket, and we forget also, right? And then the cloth goes into the washing machine, and then it nightly get washed out and everything. Then after that it gets dried and get ironed also, and then suddenly one day we wear and we insert our hand in the pocket and we again find this particular SD device. And what amazingly we surprised that after inserting this particular card into the mobile phone, it may start working also, right? So that kind of tolerability we have, that kind of devices are now being generated, and it's very tiny, and as well as it's storing a lot of information if you compare to the past evolution of the devices. So what things we have achieved? Shrink sizes, that means sizes has got reduced, reliability is increased, cost has decreased a lot, cost very important factor, and storage has increased. So just seen in 1980, 1 GB of space was costing to $1 million. 1 GB of space. Now you see in 2021, Gmail gives you 15 GB free. So whenever you create any Gmail account, 15 GB of free space is given to you. Okay, but in 1980, 1 GB of space, if you wanted to have, you will have to spend $1 million. Now, if you talk about the data centers, what do you mean by data center? Data centers where the very high-end computers, very with the huge resources of the spaces and everything are kept. So many companies like these Amazon, Facebook, all these, they have their servers where a lot of machines will be of high-end machines, okay, will be kept over there, and that is called as the data centers. So data centers is what collection of high-end computers which are called as the servers. Google, Microsoft, all are having data centers as big as cricket stadium. So they are having like a cricket stadium data centers for them. So there is one more field which is coming, that is called as quantum computing. You can read about that later. So quantum computing, what it's having the benefit that these computers are no even smaller than our West sizes, but they have the capability of this entire cricket stadium. So one quantum computer can have the storage space of this entire cricket stadium where these companies are having these data centers. So quantum computing can also become a very is also having very bright future. You can study about this one where the huge space is provided. Okay, we can see many data science applications. These few I have listed over there, but it's not limited to this one. We can apply at multiple places like sports analytics, fraud, crime detection, email spam filtering, customer segmentation, tracking spread of diseases, institution course quality analysis, course plan for a student. A few of these applications I have listed over there. Okay, if you see here this particular slide, this is also one of the kind of AI application where we have where it will automatically going to tag the faces, right? And it will going to give you the name of that particular person by just tagging the face of the person. So this stuff we can see Facebook. Then if you see these kind of also devices are there where we do the hand gesture, and then we can play the volleyball or football in the TV itself on the screen, right? So these kind of stuffs are also there. We can do outside the action, and inside this it will happen. Then if you see these kind of virtual reality devices are there, we can see in reality in the 3D, right? All the movies, 3D movies. We may feel ourselves as a part of that particular movie, right? It's happening near about us. So these kind of devices are also there. Then on your mobile phone, if you see while typing the messages, we have this the keyboard will appear, and there we have this kind of button. Okay, so if you press that one, and there we can speak, and it will be able to write, or it will be able to search. Then this dog, if you can see, this is an artificial dog, robot dog, and it's trying to mimic the real dog which is there. So this dog is seeing this the movement of the real dog, and it's trying to mimic that particular dog. This is also AI application. In fact, all the robots and everything comes under in this category. Then your Facebook, your Amazon, Netflix, Audible, all these they continuously keep your data, and they try to analyze continuously, and depending on that they try to recommend you certain things, right? They try to recommend certain their products. See, I mean, forget about this. I mean, see, but now you also know that whenever you will going to search anything on the Google, and that product may appear you on the Facebook also, right? Because Google knows that you are searching that particular stuff on the Google, so definitely you might be seeking, you wanted to buy that particular product, and then wherever you will go, whether on the Gmail or let's say on the Facebook, there you may see the ad of that particular product. Now these Netflix and all this show the programs and movies according to your interest, so they continuously track you, and based on your user experience, they will going to provide that kind of scenario. What I was telling that many times nowadays you will wonder that you don't search anything, you simply don't search anything, and you just talk to your friend, and you just discuss about any particular product or anything, right? And after 2 3 days you will observe that that product will appear in your somewhere as an ad also. So how it's happening, even though you are not searching anything, okay, without searching anything, you are just simply talking about that particular product, about that watch, about that car, and in the ad it's getting appeared. So many of you might have experienced this particular thing. So what is happening, whether it's also happening that our voice is continuously being recorded and it's being continuously analyzed, and based on that it's giving us the ad and all, right? It's quite possible, okay, we cannot deny this. So that's why otherwise if we are not searching anything, and then also if we are getting that particular ad, so there is no wonder is happening, right? There is a possibility of that our sound and everything is getting continuously recorded, and then it might be being processed. Okay. Weather prediction, this can be helpful to predict the weather. So there also we have a lot of AI application where this information can be given, can be alerted regarding the weathers. Then the satellite, we can you know that we have also launched so many satellites over there which can continuously get the information, get the images from that particular planet, and continuously it will process, it will send the information by analyzing all those stuff. So this is also one of the and by itself also, right? There may not be any human being involved over there, and everything it will be doing by itself. So this is also one of the very great application of this AI. Now, so these were a few examples. Now I'm coming to the point where one questions which continuously keeps bothering us, whether these area like AI and all, whether they will going to replace us completely, right? Whether in the future they will take our job. For example, at many places you might have seen that where the entire customer care unit was there, and now that is being replaced by one AI application, right? Or the IVR system, and that is itself is able to handle the entire customer care unit. So whether in the future it will going to eliminate, it will going to take us our entire job, whether it's possible. So let's try to analyze. So this is one of the website screenshot I've kept, and where you might have seen this kind of chat application down in the corner where we can chat. So for example, I went to this particular website, it asked me, can we get your email address? In case we get lost, we can always get back to you. So I just replied okay over there, right? So these kind of chat applications are there. If you continuously chat with them, it will give you the solution also. If you tell any problem, it will give you the solution, right? So many different tasks can be done by this particular application. In initial days, what used to happen here, one or two person, let's say 3 or 4 persons were kept behind this particular chat, and whenever a new customer used to connect, they used to chat with that particular person. Then after a certain period of time, those 4 people got removed from the job, and then this chat application got the place, and now this application is doing by itself for me, right? And this is the one of the kind of AI application. So in future, what may happen?
So one question I have: the chatbot is not linked to AI, right? It is a collection of common errors that every customer has, and then you build a script according to it to minimize your customer support staff.
Yeah, so the way you will going to develop this particular application, right? You may have very simple query and answer kind of stuff, right? For example, already your rules will be fixed, you will be having this set of questions, and for those only it will going to provide you the answer. And when it is not knowing any particular answer, it will tell that please contact to this
Correct.
right? So that is one kind of simple application. Or you may design a reach application where itself, by depending on the questions of the customer and all, it will going to create its own database, and it will continuously train itself, right? It will going to learn also, right? So I'm talking about that kind of application where it will fall in that category. Okay,
Thank you.
so what was my motto is to explain you that this application has taken the job of those 4 people, okay, who earlier were there. So in the future, what may happen? So one thing you will have to keep in mind that the one place where it has taken the job, but the application itself has been made in the AI, right? AI domain field. So if somehow we will learn these the techniques of AI like machine learning, deep learning, data science, and all, so it has also created at the same time the huge job opportunity in that particular area, right? If we know the techniques, if we now equipped with those techniques, definitely we will going to design this kind of application. So at one places it's taking the job, but those who are clearly switching to this particular field and they are equipped with all these no all these tools, then definitely they will get the job, because at one particular place it's taking the job, but another it's very huge area it's opening also. So it's quietly balancing over there. Only thing, we should be equipped with the tools, okay? We should be knowing all these techniques, and then the area where it's opening we can exactly fit over there. So there is one link you can go to on this particular website link. Later on I'll share this particular PPT also, then you can see. So there a very nice article is written where it has simply comparison of whether this AI and all field will definitely will going to take away our jobs or not. So there is a very nice comparison and everything is written over there. You can read that particular article later on. But what was the view of this particular article is that one particular place it will take your job, but at the same time, at the same point of time, it will open a new space also for you, where huge demand will be there, and definitely you can train yourself to fit in that particular area. Okay.
I would like to ask one question. How much it is penetrated in the Indian market? I mean, what we see is Google, Facebook is all foreign companies, right? American companies.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we look at the Indian market, how much it is penetrated and how much
Still,
AI is getting used every day?
yeah. So see, all these companies are definitely they are using only, but if you talk about the Indian market, it's still at it's very in the nascent stage. Okay, still we have, because nowadays these Indian companies and all, they are nowadays they started, let's say from last 2 years they have started giving training and all, and many companies which are coming uh, which has emerged in this particular field like Quantify and all, they clearly run on this particular ML and all this technology. So see, I work in the engineering college, so whenever my students they pass away from BE last year final year, when they come to meet me, I ask them whether in which particular area I got posted, right? So from the last 2-3 years I am getting the feedback that now they are being posted to ML area or deep learning area, or let's say these data science areas and all. So that means nowadays these companies are started have started their focus, but in the India it's still in very nascent stage, and we have a lot of scope in this particular field. In fact, those people who know the share trading and all, right, in the stock market, if you see in this particular year, certain kind of stocks have jumped a lot. For example, few companies are there like Persistent System or Talna Solutions, or many these kind of companies are there where if you observe the cloud thing is there, or AI applications are there. For example, Happiest Mind, if we take Happiest Mind is one of the great example where the stock has rose from 300 level to 1400 level. So it's very small period of time the stock price has surged a lot. Why? Because these companies are dealing with such kind of technology like AI or machine learning or deep learning techniques, and depending on that only there is a you will see there is a huge surge in their prices. You got my point, right?
Yes.
I think one of the answers to the question is most of the people working at the back end is all Indian, Indian professionals. They are from the IT field, and
Yeah.
they are only working for all these companies.
Right. Yes. So you all are free to share your this information, right? Because many of you are there in the industry, and definitely you all know how the working is going on over there. So you all are welcome, right? Whenever you want, you can share your views.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is
Yeah.
how easy or difficult to skill up ourselves if you are not from an engineering background?
So, sir, it's very easy. For example, if we see this data science, uh, in the data science, even if your statistics are good, I think I'm getting some noise from. Just mute if Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So if your statistics is very good, you can definitely do a great things in this particular field, data scientist field. One thing where you will find little bit difficulty, that is learning the language and applying that language. But once you are used to that particular stuff, how you can write the language and how you will be able to following the syntax. It's like learning the English language in the same way learning the programming language. Once you are able to learn that particular language, then entire thing is your concept only. If you know the statistics properly, you just need to apply the statistics. You can take out any details from the data, right? If your statistics are good. So obviously this stuff are there, and the way you will be having the experiences, right? Let's say a few projects you will be doing. For example, this course you will consider. So here, since I have started from the basic, right, and I will leave you up to the intermediate level. So once you will learn this entire course, you will be doing the projects. Then you can do the advanced level also, where the lots of algorithm is there. You will learn the algorithms one by one. You will implement, and then you will do 5-6 projects. Obviously, you will gain the experience. Then every project will give you a certain kind of information on how to tackle that kind of project when in the real life scenario, if that project will come to you. So every project will give you a nice amount of information, and after a certain experience of time, I mean, after once you will pass 4 or 5 years, then you will be having the set of rules, like whenever this task will come, you will have to fire these things, and the data, hidden data can be taken out, or the information can be taken out. The way we work with the testing environment, software testing environment, right? So these things will definitely will come over there, but it's easy. Okay, if you put simply the effort, it's easy. For example, these 5 days, you just simply practice whatever is being taught in this particular course. From my bottom of heart, I can say that I'll try to give you as much as information as possible, and you will feel that practically you know the things. And but one more thing I will clear, that since I'm starting from the base, so I will leave up to your intermediate level. From that also you will have to learn, right? If you really want to work in the industry, in the more deep, you will have to learn. So obviously after 2-3 months, I'll be coming with the advanced course also. If you want, you can join that one, but from your side also you can learn it, obviously. So from your side also upgrade yourself, but after this particular course, practice, and then also learn the advanced thing, and then definitely within 1 year you will be ready with this particular thing. Okay, if you simply put 6 months hard effort, definitely you will be very good in this particular field.
When we talk about these languages,
Yeah,
Python
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
R, which one
yeah.
is more powerful?
So both are on the same level. Okay, both are on the same level. Few people like Python, like most programming. The people who are coming from the programming background and all, they prefer the Python languages, and uh, people who are there in the research field and all, who are there in the statistics field, they prefer this R language, because this has derived from the statistical language. So they prefer these languages. Now both the languages are having the competition with each other, because this R language got developed from the statistics language, and this Python language actually got developed from the main programming language. So now both are providing. For example, Python has given a lot of improvement for the statistics, and this R language has given a lot of improvements for the programming environment. So both are competing each other. Now, from my point of view, what I can tell you, that we should be jack of all trades. Okay, if we are going in the industry, we should learn both the languages. So if the project comes in Python, if it demands in the Python or R language, we should be able to do it. So if you learn this particular course with the R language, I just simply request you to just go through the syntax of Python. Same thing you try to do in the Python language. Both the languages you will be able to do simultaneously, and the concept will remain the same. The underlying concept remains the same. Concept will not going to change. Only thing, the syntax will going to change. So it's a better opportunity if you are learning this particular language. First finish this one, then the same thing you just try in the Python language. That will also you will learn. Okay.
Layman perspective, which one is more simpler, Python or R?
Now see, in the layman, you can say that see, for from my experience, I have seen that people like this R language, because even the people who are not there from the programming background, like commerce people or doctor and all, they also can learn easily. But for me, Python is also very easy. Okay, and I mean, I can see all the languages for me. So it depends on the perspective, right? Which person is learning. If he is finding it easy, go for that particular language. Okay, so just try both the languages. If you feel this language is you are finding much simpler, you go with that language. But my suggestion will be you learn both the languages. Okay, because in both the languages a lot of scope are there. Here lots of packages are there, and there in the Python also continuously lots of upgradation is being done, and there also very simple syntaxes are there. And you learn both the languages, but first learn this particular stuff and then just try to do the same thing in the other language, because both the languages will have their scope. Okay.
So, but there are many other tools that Tableau also is being used, right?
Right. Yeah, for analytics, right? All those Veka tools, Tableau tools, all those things are being used. Yes. So here I won't be teaching about all those things. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will be giving us an overview, right? At the end of the course, how things will be moving ahead. So it will be easy for each and every individual to take a wise decision on which direction to move. Where is
Yes.
the
See, by the end of the course, I don't have to give you anything. You from yourself only. In fact, I will be asking you now what will be your decision, right? And see, I'll be taking the feedback also, and from through the feedback also I'll come to know. So you will be at that particular position. You will be able to take the decisions. Okay. And any point of time, if you feel to discuss with me anything, you can always discuss with me. I am always there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let's come to this R language. What is this R language? Because all this stuff now we'll be doing in this R language only. And so first we have to learn this particular language. So this R language, R is a language and environment for statistical computing and graphics. So it is based on S language. S is called as a statistical programming language. Okay, earlier it developed at Bell Labs during 1975 and 76 by John Chambers and its colleagues. And R was first implemented in the early 1990s by Robert Gentleman and Ross Laka, both faculty members at the University of Auckland. So Robert and Ross established R as an open source project. What do you mean by open source? That is, the source code is available to everybody and everybody can access it and everybody can modify it, but you should have some years of experience to do that one. So open source project in 1995. Since 1997, the R project has been managed by the R core group. And in February 2000 came the first release of the R. So today R is widely used environment for statistical analysis. What are the features of this R language? R is a cross platform. That means on all the platforms it can run free, and it's open source software. It's a package based. So what do you mean by package based? For example, for any particular feature you want, any particular feature you require, if that facility is there in any particular package, you can install that package in your this language, and then you can start the features of that package. So it's a package based rich repository of all sorts of the packages required for data analysis. Strong graphics capabilities it has, highly extensible, powerful LaTeX-like documentation environment. So for those people who normally make the thesis and reports and all, they might be knowing about this LaTeX software where we create a very nice documentation reports and all. Similar kind of thing is possible with this also, R language. Then strong user developer communities is there, active development, right, where we can ask the question, we can post our queries and all, and it's maintained by the scientist and it's being run for the scientist. So R is developed by statistician for statistics analysis. R is also a great visualization tool, which we'll be seeing in the last session, that how we can use this R language for visualization purpose in the data analysis. Similarly, R provides ggplot2, plotlib. So this plot2 and plotlib, all these are the part of the visualization which we'll be doing in the visualization part. So it's just like a plugin and play. Okay. Now let's see how we can install this R language and RStudio, and then we can execute certain commands on that one. So where we'll be seeing the utility commands. Before that, I would like to show you how what different softwares we require and how we can perform this stuff. So carefully see it. So for doing this R language, okay, and this data scientist course, we require the RStudio software. Okay, and for installing that RStudio software, you need to first install the R language. So what you will have to do, you need to go to Google and you need to do what? R language download. So you can see here, this CRAN R project is there. So basically this is a community which is maintaining entire thing about this R language. So you can go over there, you can click this one, or you can open this link also, right? And from here you can download, if your machine is Windows, and depending on which bit you are having, for example 32-bit or 64-bit, so on both it will work. If you are having the Mac, then for the Mac different link is there, but it's also there in the same uh, same website, right? So this is a group which maintains your this thing. This is called as CRAN repository, where everything is maintained about this R language. So for this thing, for R Studio, you first require the R language. So you have to download from here, and you have to just install it. So double click on that one, and then just say next, and it will be installed. For this installation, I will share my video. I will put my video link, so don't worry about that one. Just now observe this one. So first download this R language, install it. After that you have to write what? R Studio download. This is kind of editor, okay? This is kind of IDE where we'll be writing our code and we'll be developing our application and all. So there is a one website, that is what? www.rstudio.com, and I just simply written R Studio download, where this link appears. I'll go on that particular website. Okay. Download R Studio. So if you just go below, see the free version is there, open source license free version is there, R Studio Desktop. So you can download this one. And first you have to install that R language, and then download this one and install this particular software. Here also no rocket science is there. Just simply you need to double click on the software, and just say next, it will be installed. Once you install this particular software, it will look like this. For example, I have already installed. So what I'll be searching, I'll say R Studio in my start, and the symbol will look like this, R Studio. If I click on this, so it will take some time and it will open. Sizes are also not so big. Okay, maybe R Studio software is 200 MB software, and R language software will be near about 40-50 MB. So the sizes are also not huge. I have started that R Studio. It will start in a few minutes. And if you don't want to install anything, right? If you don't want to install anything like this R Studio software or R language, then also you can perform all these things. Where R Studio, exactly the R Studio software will be, it will look exactly similar on the cloud. So for that, what you can do, you can, by the time it will start, what I'll do, I'll just demonstrate that one also. So here in the Google, you can search R Studio Cloud. So now today, I will recommend everybody to do this one, R Studio Cloud. You click on this R Studio Cloud, this will appear, right? Click on the first link. So this page will appear. Okay, this page will appear. Now, if you see, you can log in with your Gmail account. You can log in with your GitHub also. So all of you will be having the Gmail account. So you can try and log in with the Gmail account. So for example, I'll click over here. What I did, I simply searched R Studio Cloud. Yeah, R Studio Cloud in the Google, R Studio Cloud, and then this appeared. I clicked on this one. Now here I'll try to log in with Google Gmail account. So whichever your account is there, just try to log in with that one. I'll log in with my this Gmail account. Okay, my software has also started. Give some time till then. We will finish this one. Then I'll show you. So so for first time, if it's opening for you, you might be not seeing all these things which I have created over there. Many number of projects, but certain space will be given to you, right? And you might see in this particular new project. So you can click on this one. A new RStudio project, you can click on this.
So this is open source kind of environment, this one?
Yes,
RStudio?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, RStudio is open source. But this cloud, I mean, it is having a certain limitation. Okay. For example, on the number of hours and number of projects you can create on the cloud, that is limited. Maybe it will not allow you to create more than 15, 16 projects. That might be the criteria. After that, it will ask you for charge because this is on the cloud, na? So
Correct.
yeah, so they will going to charge you. But till 15, 16 projects you will be able to do, right? For you, it will be enough to practice and everything. I mean, if you don't want
And
to
create new IDs and then you can
yes,
explore.
yes. That thing is already there.
But
Yeah.
so you mean to say the Python and Tableau, they are not open source. They are tagged to some OEMs.
No, Python is also open source. Okay.
Okay, Python is also open
Yeah.
source.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So now this kind of window will appear to all of you. So this is RStudio software got opened. Okay, and this is there running on the cloud. So now we have not installed anything. Only thing what we had internet connection, and we just need the browser, and we searched over there on the cloud. It got opened. If you see, there is only 3 windows which is appearing. I'll just arrange them in a proper order. See, there is one small icon is there of the Windows. Can you see? All of you can see this one. Just click on that one. This in the first window over here. There is a small icon above this broom. Just click on that once. So 2 window will get separated, right? So this is one window. This is one window. And this one I'll arrange. In this way. So you can see now there are 4 quadrants are there. This is the first one, the second, and this third, and this is fourth. 4 quadrants are there. And this is the look and feel of this R language, RStudio software. For this RStudio software, if you want to install on the local machine, what I told you, first you install the R language and then you install the RStudio software. The link for this, how to install it, how to download it, that I will forward on the WhatsApp, and later you just see for 5 minutes and you can do the installation process. Now here, if you see RStudio software I have started, which is there, this software is installed on my machine. I'll show you. So if you see the look and feel of this particular software, it's exactly similar to that RStudio Cloud. Okay, I have arranged this in 4 quadrants. So this software is running on my local machine. If I'm minimizing this, and this is running on my cloud. Okay, this is running on my cloud. So both are exactly similar. There is no difference at all, and that's why I'm recommending you to do the stuff today at least on this one. Then obviously afterward you can download and you can install it, because if that is there in our local machine, it becomes, I mean, doesn't matter for how much time we will practice on that one, right? So it will not going to record that particular stuff, and we can do a lot of stuff. So here, obviously, after a certain period of time, you will have to change your ID, and then you will have to log in with some other ID.
Is there any limitation of the space there?
Yeah, that will also be there. For example, see, for my, it's showing that 13 out of 50 projects. So I think it has given me 50 projects limitation. And second thing, project hours. So out of 25, it's showing 0 hours. So maybe it's updating also after a certain period of time. Okay. Initially, it was up to only 15 projects. Now it's showing me 50, only 15 project. Now it's showing me 50 projects. Okay. So
It's basically project driven.
Yes, yes. The project
Individual
event, and
project, how
also,
much it is taking
also,
place is not there considering, I
yeah,
think.
also how much, for how much time you are utilizing it, right? That is
Hmm.
also there. So after this 25 hours, it will tell me to buy. Clear?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let me explain you about these 4 windows which we're going to open. First of all, let me tell me that whether all of you could open these 4 windows and on the cloud. Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah. So if anybody is having any problem, please tell me so that we can find the solution, and then we can move ahead with this one. I'll just see the chat. If you can't ask any question, I mean, you can simply write in the chat box also. Sir, you can check if you have unpinned instructor screen. So I have not done anything, I think. Should I pin from here my screen? Or if mine thing is visible? See, from your side also you can pin my screen so that only that will be visible, right? Okay. So let's move ahead. This one. Okay. Now, if you see, there are 4 windows are there. So first one, this is called as the code window, or where we write the code, where we write the program. Okay. So this is called as the code window or the script window or code window. The second window which you see over here, this if you see read, environment, history, connection, tutorial, all these things are there. This is called as environment and history window. Environment and history window. So whatever things we will be creating temporarily, that will go in the environment, and you can see over there the variables and all. Similarly, the history will also be recorded, will be saved. So history also we can see. This is called as environment and history window. Then the third one, this one is, it is called as, if you read it, files, plot, packages, help, viewer. So this is called a files and plot window, files, plot, and packages window. And this one, towards the left and downside, this is called a console window, where we can fire certain commands from this console and we can execute. So this is called as the console window or the terminal. So first one is the script window or the code window. Second one is the environment or history window, environment and history window. The third one, files and plot window. And the fourth one, this one is called as the console or terminal. Console or the terminal. Yes, all of you. Now I'll show you a few codes so that we can practice. So first thing, let's observe how R can be used as a calculator. So few things I'll be writing along with me, you also can do. Now this cloud, we can also open in the mobile phone also, and we can do this stuff. But what is the problem in the mobile? That typing will be a little bit tedious job, right, over there. So on the if you are there on the laptop or on the desktop, then it's good. So what you can do with the mobile, you can start the I mean the lecture, you can keep starting, and the lecture will be there in the mobile phone, and at the same time you can practice also. If it's no, it's not happening for you, or what you can do, one window you can just minimize little bit where I am demonstrating it, and then the software window you can open and you can just do over there, right, side by side. So that way you can do the adjustment, so that while I am doing, you also can do it simultaneously. It's up to you. So what I want to demonstrate, first thing we will see how we can use this R language as a calculator. So let's say, suppose I am having some number, let's say I am having 3.8, and I just simply want to multiply this one with, let's say, 3. So I've written over here 3.8 multiplied by 3. Now how to run this? Where your cursor can be anywhere in this particular line, you just need to press Control Enter simultaneously. Control Enter. So that will be executed. You can see the output over here. If you are writing the same thing over here on this prompt, on this console prompt, then let's say I want to multiply 5 into 2.3. Then here just simply you can enter and this will be executed. But if you are writing in this code window, in the script window, then your cursor must be on the same line if you want to execute that line, and you can just press Control Enter simultaneously, and that will be executed. Control Enter together, and this line will be executed. Now let's go to the next, and let's say suppose I want to add two numbers. So 5 plus let's say 3, control enter. 5 plus 3 is 8. We can see over there 5 plus 3 is 8 output. Let's say suppose I want to store this 5 plus 3 into some character, let's say in some variable a. This is called as the variable. I want to store this 5 plus 3 8 solution in this a, right? So I'll write in this way. What I have done, a, and then the arrow, this angular bracket and one hyphen. So what I have done, this angular bracket, shift angular bracket, and then one hyphen, and then I'm saying 3 plus let's say 2. So I want to store this addition in the a. Control enter. Okay, the summation is being done. Now if I want to see the output of the a, if you see over here in the environment window, this a variable is created and its value is what, 5. Okay, and from here let's say I want to see the value of a. So I have written a over there, control enter. A is having 5. A is having 5. I can also write in this way. Let's say a is equal to 10 plus 2. I want to store 10 plus 2. So here I will use equal to, one single equal to operator. That means assign this particular right hand side value into this particular character or the variable. So this is a variable. I want to store this 10 plus 2 in that one. Control enter. And let's see the output of a. See, the output of a is now 12. So you can use both arrow operator or the equal to operator to assign. Both will do the job.
I request you, can you go back to row number 5 and press control enter? Will it consider 12 or that value? Control enter here on 5.
No, on 5 if we'll do, then 3 plus 2 will be saved. But if you just run this 6th line, so it will show you 12 because now the value got updated, right? If you see over here, the earlier value was 5, now it got updated to 12. So if you simply run a, then you will get 12. Okay. Similarly, let's say suppose I want to subtract from a, let's say 3.5. Now a is what, 12. 12 minus 3.5. If you see 8.5 I am getting. Similarly, so after every command, what I'm doing, I'm saying control and enter, right? And then only I'm executing control and enter. So let's say a minus 0.4 and raised to, I want to do something, let's say 0.5. So a minus 0.4 raised to 0.5 I'm doing. Control enter. You can see it's giving me under root of this a minus 0.4. Raised to 0.5 means 1 by 2, right? 1 by 2 means what? It's a square root of this one. Similarly, if you want to find out with the help of function, we have the function also, sqrt function. And in that function, we can write this a minus, what I written, 0.4. So a minus 0.4. And it will going to give me the same value. So either you can write raised to 0.5 or a minus 0.4. Similarly, if I want to find out exponent e raised to 1 will be what? So exponent of 1, this will give me e raised to 1. So exponent of 1 is what? 2.718282.
But sir, just one question. There would be multiple formulas or syntax, right, in this? The syntax, sir, how will come to know whether the formula that we have fed in is right or wrong?
So that requires a little bit practice, okay? And day by day, everything will be clear to you. And every day you'll be learning one or the other thing. Second thing, we have the documentation also. And we can always read the documentation. In that all the examples will be already given to us. Okay, so
Okay.
once we will for example, if I want to get the sqrt function, I'll show you in a moment that how we can see the documentation and how we can see the functions, any functions in the documentation, right? At the same time, we have the Google also. So for example, if we want certain facility, we can Google it and we can see in the R language whether any sort of that kind of function is there, and if it's there, then how to utilize that particular function. Okay.
Okay. Sir,
Yeah,
for an example, I want to correlate. Suppose in Excel, if you put any formula, it shows where the error is. The same way, it won't show in R.
it will show. If the error will be there, it will show. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, it
No
will
question.
show.
One
Yeah,
Like
question. One
today's
question.
programming languages, when we start typing a script,
yeah,
so generally base the ID itself is sensitive, so it can understand and gives the pop-up menu, drop-down
right,
menu, where we can
right.
pick and choose and continue our scripting. Is there any way we can configure this ID?
Yes,
So
I mean,
on
see,
fly we can
here
type
also
and yeah.
intelligence is there. For example, if I simply write over here, which might be error, like for example, this one is there. So this will also show you, but we need to save this particular. Let's say it will be saved with .r extension. Once we will save, then it will be able to identify whether this function is having error or not. Okay. So I have not explained you how to save and not, because I am starting with very basic. Then slowly, everything will be clear to you. And entire script also we can run all together by just clicking over here, right? Once we'll save the file, and entire thing can be executed at once also. So now I'm line by line, I'm executing each and everything, and then I'm showing you. Okay, the way we will progress, I'll be explaining each and everything. So
Yeah,
ideally, obviously,
thanks.
it will give you the intelligence information and on. Again, you'll be writing a big function, so that information will also be provided at the same time over there, and which parameter it will be taking. So I was telling you that exponent, if you want to get, you can get. For example, if you see now this intelligence is got pop up over there, it's showing exp in the bracket x. So we need to give certain number over there. Okay. Now let's say there is one more function. For example, I want to find out the log of exponent of 1. That is log of e. So log of e, we know that log of e is what? 1. So we got this one. Similarly, if I want to get log of, let's say, we want to find out log 10, okay, to the base 10. This was natural log. First one was the natural log, and this we want to find out the log to the base 10. And in this, I am providing 10 raised to, let's say, 10 raised to 5. So log 10 to the 10 raised to 5, it's giving me 5. So this will be the answer. Similarly, if I say, so there will be difference. For example, if I simply say log and 10 raised to 5. So if you see here in both the log, there is a difference, because this log is to the base 10 and this log is there to the base e. So this second one is the natural log and the first one is to the base 10. So obviously there will be the difference in the answer. Okay. One function is there for this one, log, where the first parameter you can pass 10 raised to, let's say, 5, and second the base you can write, let's say, 10. So this will give me the same answer. Now let's say suppose I want to assign the sequence of the numbers to some variable. For example, a, I am writing sequence -1 to 2 to 0.5. So let me execute this and you will see what will happen. Now if you see here, this a variable is created and we got the sequence of the numbers -1 to 2, and each and every number is separated, or the step size is what, 0.5 only. Okay, 0.5. So if I want to show this a, so this is what we got, the sequence of numbers from -2 to -1 to 2. So in the first two parameters, first parameter is from where you want until second parameter is till where you want, and the third parameter is what should be the step size between each and every number. So this is how we can generate a set of numbers, right, sequence of numbers, and we can store in some variable. If I want to get the length of this a, I can write length, and A will give me the length of this particular vector or sequence of numbers. So let's say length of A is what? 7. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Total 7 elements are there in this one. What I did in this, simply in A, I wanted to store sequence of numbers. So there is one sequence function seq, and in that first number is what, from where to start, second number is till where you want, and the third number is what should be the step size of, or the difference between the two numbers. So that is a 0.5, and it has separated and is given me in A, right? And if I want to see the length of all the elements which are present in A, so that is total 7 elements are there, and that is can be found out by using the length function. Similarly, if I want to get the pi value, I'll write pi. I check the value. It's what, 3.141593. It's a pi value. Okay. Now, in X, suppose I want to store the sequence of minus 2 into pi into 2 into pi, and with one step size spaces. So I want the sequence of numbers from minus 2 into pi to 2 into pi with one step size spaces. So if I want to get this one, I'll just simply execute this. If you see this sequence of numbers is generated, I'll just try to print this one X. See, the sequence of numbers is generated with the difference of 1 1, right? So this is what my sequence of numbers. The range is from minus 2 into pi to 2 into pi, right? Now what I'll do, I'll say y is equal to sine of x. So y is equal to sine of this x. Let's generate this one. You see, this also got generated. Let's print this y value. So this y value which I have generated, that I have calculated with the help of sine of x. So we can calculate with different, the sine functions are there, right? I have calculated the sine of x and I stored inside this y. Why I did, so that I can plot certain thing, I can show you. So I'll do what now? Plot x comma y. Okay, I'll plot this one. So there is a plot function. I'm plotting this. So it's, one error is coming to me that figure margins are too large. So if this is coming here, this plot will open after this particular command. So if our margins are proper, this will be displayed. Now it's showing me that figure margins are too large. I'll just shift this one towards this one, so that, yeah. Now again, I'll execute this. Still, let me check again.
So I think the numbers need to be realigned with same decimal, to say. Well, that is huge negative. It is exponential by 2.45 exponential minus 16.
I think just wait. Length of both the lengths are proper. This window for you, for many of you might have come also. Just check it.
Yeah, it is coming from me.
Yes. Some adjustment is needed. I'll just add one more parameter. Let's say type is equal to L. Or then I'll have to close this ID. Let me show you the same thing on the software. For how many of you it has come?
It has come for me.
Only one?
It has come for me too.
Sir, me also.
Yes, it will come. If it's not coming, little bit adjust your screen. This one. And if then also it's not coming after adjusting, then we'll have to close this. It's not coming for me. I'll show you over here. First executed, then I'm creating X. So X is having this set of values, then Y. So Y is equal to sin X. So this is of my Y value. I'm plotting this one. So if you see here, so this is a line graph. Type L means what? This is a line graph. Okay. Type L means what? This is line graph. There is a zoom button is there. If you click on that one, so you can zoom it. You can zoom it and you can view it. Similarly, the way type L is there. If you write in place of L, you can write H. So this H means histogram. So this kind of bar kind of histogram kind of graph will appear. I'll just zoom it. So these are the histogram. Okay, histogram will appear. Now, if you see here in the plots, here top plots is there, right? So there is an option save as image, save as PDF. So for example, this kind of plots we present, and then we want to save it for presentation purposes and all, or to show our the stakeholders or to the boss or whoever in the seminar and all. So what we can do, we can save this. We can click on this one and we can save as an image. So this window will appear, where in the image formats you are having lots of options. Like if you click on this, PNG, JPEG, TIFF, BMP, all these images, different types are there. If you want, you can save to with any particular type. There is a save button. You can click on that one and this image will be saved, right? Similarly, if you want to, if you click on this one and if you are doing save as PDF, so here you can specify the sizes and all. From this you can select which kind of paper is there, and you can say there is a one option of portrait and landscape is also there, right? Orientation, and then you can save this as a PDF. So both the facilities are there. I mean, if you want, you can save as a PDF, or if you want, you can save as the different types of images format, and whatever you want, you can plot over there. You can use that thing for your presentation purposes. So that thing is provided to you, right? Just check it whether for all of you this has come. Okay, so for Suresh, initially it was not coming for you. Me too, I got it.
I got plot X and Y.
Okay. So sometimes it's too small or too large, so we need to arrange the window. Then it may come. No, for me it's not coming. I'll have to start again. Anybody who has not got this plot? I'll have to stop.
I will try only after you finish.
Sir, I could not understand.
No issue at all. At the end, you can just start again and see for coding thing only. I have this part I have taken, right? So you can again revise this and you can see in detail, and just slowly one by one instruction you can execute and you can practice it. Okay. And
you be providing the all the details for the practice, all the formula or the detail that you have written, right?
Yes. All this code I'll be providing you, and so this R as a calculator, entire thing I'll be providing you. Okay, don't worry about this one. Yeah.
My request is at the end of this session, please share whatever you have covered today, the PPTs, and as well as the recording, so that we can practice.
Yes, definitely.
So can you just post the formulas onto the chat? It will be better for us to just go through it after the session.
Okay.
The formulas what you have used right now, just into the chat part.
Right. I'll do that one. I don't know whether the whole thing will go in one shot. Yeah. I just posted. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So today by night I'll be able to upload both the videos. But till then, if you want to practice, still on my channel the videos are there. I'll just show you the link. You can go over here. Okay. So today one task is there for you, that is installation of R and R Studio installation. So for R Studio installation, you will have to first install the R and then install the R Studio. So these two videos will be very important for you. I'm sending the link of them, or on this channel, if you go, you will get this. And second thing, the third video is there, that is for R Studio Cloud. All of you can check that one. How to install R and R. Okay, so this video is there. This is for R language. R language. On the WhatsApp also, I'll message this. Then this is R Studio. Let's go to Google first. R Studio. And then for cloud also, I've made one video. So R Studio Cloud, no need to install any software. R Studio Cloud. So these three videos are there. First you install R language, then after that R Studio, then your setup will be ready, software will be ready. And if you don't want to install anything, then obviously this third video is there, R Studio Cloud, where you can easily practice. And now I have made one classroom. In that classroom, all of you have to join, so that common stuff I can share over there. So I can generate the link of this one. I can post in the group. And if some people are not able to join this, then they can join by sending the mail to me. I can join from myself, from my side, right? So you'll be able to join it. I'll just stop the recording, otherwise I think this thing will goes in the recording.